I died in the year that I loved Rowan the most, and he tossed a fortune of millions aside to stay with me, perishing together in the fire. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself having traveled back in time by 10 years. At this time, we had just gotten married, and I loathed Rowan more than anyone else. I rushed to his office, saw him for the first time again, and choked out, "Rowan, I'm sorry." He paused, his expression turning somber. "Go ahead. What are you planning to put me through this time?" I remember Rowan didn't make it out when the explosion happened. He was always so neat and well groomed, but there in the midst of the fire and ashes, he knelt beside me and said, "Sonia, don't be afraid. I'll stay with you." He was 38 years old and had thrown away millions of dollars to be with me in that inferno. On a midsummer evening, the sky outside was a fiery red. A stifling breeze blew into the room when I awoke from a dream, sitting dazed on the bed. The clock ticked away in the corner, and the calendar lay still on the desk. "Mrs. Crawford?" Mr. Crawford called and said he wouldn't be home tonight. The housekeeper Lara's voice floated in from the living room, calm and serene. I gazed down at the new wedding ring on my finger and closed my eyes. I had time traveled back 10 years. The all-consuming fire and the warmth of his embrace before dying felt so real. In his last moments, Rowan told me, "Sonia, don't be afraid. In this life, I waited too long for you. In the next, I'll find you sooner." Was it a dream or was it a reality? I pinched myself, feeling the dull pain. The honk of a car outside jolted me from my muddled thoughts. Shock gave way to a deep, unending ache and bitterness. A misunderstanding, orchestrated by others, made me hate Rowan for years. During that time, his rivals relentlessly attacked him, leaving him completely exhausted. At home, my coldness pushed him to stay away. With his parents gone and no family to speak of, he guarded a business empire alone for most of his life. We eventually cleared the misunderstanding and had a few blissful months together, even with a child on the way. But before I could tell him about the pregnancy, we were suddenly gone. "Mrs. Crawford, the flowers have arrived. Are you ready to leave?" Lara asked as she entered. "What?" My thoughts were still messy. "The flowers? Aren't you going to see Mr. Brennan?" Miles Brennan? Hearing his name, I froze. A thread appeared in the chaos of my mind. So it was this day. Miles had been my childhood's friend, a talented actor. Sadly, an accident left him with his severe wounds, confining him to the hospital. In my past life, I brought flowers to the hospital on this day to celebrate his birthday. I spent his birthday with him, and leaving the hospital, I saw Rowan sitting in his car, a cigarette burned to the end, oblivious. I didn't want to explain anything or see him. "Sonia?" Rowan noticed me, stubbed out his cigarette, and exited the car, his voice tinged with melancholy. "Today is my birthday." I stopped in my track, turned back, and looked at him coldly. "So what?" I asked. His gloomy eyes met mine in silence. I said, "Today is also Miles' birthday. To marry me, you ruined his face and career. What do you expect me to do?" Rowan opened his mouth, trying to explain. "It was an accident." I cut him off sharply. "If you hadn't invited him that day, he wouldn't still be in the hospital. How can I believe it was an accident?" Rowan was silent, finally saying, "I'm sorry." From that day, our relationship plummeted, starting a long, painful silence. Later, it turned out the accident, which even Rowan had believed was a ploy by others to drive us apart. "The things are in the car, Mrs. Crawford. If you don't leave soon, you'll hit traffic," Lara called out again. The sun was setting outside, casting long shadows. I returned to reality, hurriedly put on my coat and got into the car because I suddenly realized it was 10 years ago and there was still time. The driver merged into traffic. The road to the hospital is jammed. Maybe you should call Mr. Brennan to tell him you will be late. Not the hospital, I said, watching the traffic lights change outside. Let's go to Rowan's office. I didn't have much recollection of Rowan's office. Young and full of disdain for him, I never went there. Later, loving him, I didn't dare visit because of the dangers surrounding him. So standing at the base of towering office buildings, I was lost. Which one was Rowan's? Passerby gave me curious glances as I stood there with a huge bouquet, all dressed up and made up, looking like a girl about to confess her love. Feeling awkward, I pulled out my phone and found Rowan's number. It was his full name, not even an emergency contact. I dialed, expecting a long wait, but after just 2 rings, Rowan picked up. His voice was cold and distant. What it is? My eyes were red with tears when I heard him again, and my voice choked. Rowan, where is your office? I can't find it. People stared even more at the woman crying on the sidewalk, unable to find her husband's office. It seemed Rowan was in a meeting. He paused. We will end here for today. Then spoke to me. Stand on the sidewalk, I'll come down. A few minutes later, Rowan emerged from the office building. His tall figure cut through the neon lights, impeccably dressed, exuding a dignified calm. In contrast, I looked like a mess in the reflection. Eyeliner streaked down my face like something out of a horror movie. Damn, it was all ruined. What are you doing here? He asked, his tone cold and almost icy. I turned to look at him. The tall, handsome man gazed at me coldly, his eye reflecting my tear-streaked face and his expression slightly stiffened. No matter the situation, Rowan was always composed and perfect.